Thank you very much. My name is Ridah Sabouni, and I'm the Managing Director of Energetics here in the region. Who is thinking of purchasing for your next car an electric vehicle, an EV? I'm going to raise my hand as well. Yes, okay, interesting. And who is thinking of cutting the cord and actually for your next purchase of a car, not buying the car and deciding to use public transportation, ride sharing, whatever it may be? Okay, few people. In Dubai, yeah, there we are in Dubai, yes. Okay, interesting insights. I like to ask that question, and maybe in a few years we'll ask it again and things may change. But with that, I want to introduce the panel discussion. So we're talking about infrastructure and regulations. The way we're structuring this panel, I'll briefly have each panelist do a brief self-introduction to themselves and their organization, so 1 to 2 minutes each. And then we'll go into what is happening today, right? So what is the current policies, the current infrastructure, what is the status, and what are the challenges going on today, not only in Dubai, but across the GCC region. We want to focus. So panelists, think about what's going on across the region in terms of what's going on now. And then the second part of the discussion, we'll talk about the future. So what are the potential solutions? What do we need to happen in order to accelerate the adoption of new energy vehicles and accelerate future mobility, okay? And we'll think about probably more in terms of the UAE, although if you want to talk about other countries, I think that's also fine. So with that, let's go across the table. I'm gonna pass the mic, where you have mics, okay? Alex, you wanna go first, introduce yourself and your company?
Very good evening. My name is Alex. I'm a technical manager from GreenParking. We, as a company working with green technologies and environmental friendly and beneficial technologies since many years. And in fact, around 7-8 years ago, we have started a small revolution, which we see here now in Dubai and in the MENA region in general. We have entered into the EV network, EV business, and we have done a great achievement so far, I think so. Many electric vehicle chargers were installed. We're working with government companies, we're working with the private companies and private end users. And we have developed and introduced our own cross-border electric vehicle charging network. And basically, we're trying to do our best in this regards, and I'm really proud to be here today on the FMC, and I'm looking forward for the discussion, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Faris. Try again. Try again. Try again.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Faris Mazrooei. I've been one of the early adopters of electric cars back in 2007. That's when I purchased my first electric car, and I had my experience journey from there. When it came in 2011, I got the first Tesla sedan, and then moved on to the Model X in 2016. Though we formalized a group of owners, early adopters in the UAE. We saw the challenges ahead of time. Fortunately for me, that I became an advisor for Tesla in the Middle East. I've been in that role for almost 2 years now. And we've been studying and looking at the market in different angles. I've learned a lot from them, and they've learned a lot from me. I see their vision and how they do business usually in their model. And it's really, really very hard to understand how Tesla works as a management side and then look at what's going on the ground. They're definitely 8 years ahead. That's what I learned from them. Then I said, you know what, since we have many early adopters, people brought cars from the US, UK, European, and even China. They didn't have the adapters, the right adapters, the standards. So I started Volt, which is a company, I kind of ran it by myself in the beginning, but I kind of let go later on. I moved on a few things, but it kept sustaining itself. And Volt focused on people who is frustrated, either left away from charge, came with a solution with adapters really quickly, made our own stuff really quickly. It's like a sandbox for us as an early adapters. Then we had an EVOA, which is Electric Vehicle Owner Association, where we thought, you know what, now we're 200 members and growing, and let's do something formally. And when we come to, say, a place that does window tinting or cleaning or polishing, we say we come in with 200 members. Are you going to give us a good deal? Rebate, something. So that came good to us. Then we started some courses for recovery drivers, because when a recovery driver comes in to recover a car dead side on the road, he doesn't know what to do. So we kind of gave him, you know, some guidelines to understand. Now, with respect with all manufacturers and dealers, we didn't do that because they requested that, because that's our assets, nothing else. That's our asset, and we need to protect it. And if they didn't do a good job, or they didn't understand, or frustration of a customer, we have to protect our own regardless. Insurance companies do the same thing. So when I come in with a broker and I say, you know what, I have a potential of 200 policies to write, same thing. That's what gave me into the EV industry. But then I moved on into motorcycles. I have Adam here also with the One Moto, and we're thinking of electric motorcycles. And we've been having a very 8 months frustrations with the government right now, getting the ESMA approval and standards. But that's what I do. I'm the face where the government doesn't want to see my face. I come in and I kind of sort it out. I come in with both solutions. Thank you.
Hello. No, it's mine not. Ah, it works. My name is Ivanno. I'm essentially an agent of change. I need to sell change. So Dubai Carbon is a data-centric environmental economics think tank. So we look at numbers, we derive patterns, trends, benchmarks, which we share with our stakeholders, these being governments, private entities, individuals. But what makes us quite valuable in this context is the fact that we've been mapping the CO2 emissions of Dubai in great details, of the UAE and the GCC in general, since 2009. So essentially, as of a few hours ago, we can say that Dubai has, for the first time, decreased its net emissions in 2018. So these are the kind of results that Dubai Carbon brings to the table. Not because we did it, although in social settings I might totally claim the credit, but because we are able to incentivize our stakeholders to continue with their projects, to continue with their initiatives, because they have measurable impact on the ground. Now, from my point of view, what we see here today with EVs is exactly what we were looking at with solar 5, 7 years ago, with energy efficiency at the same time, simply because it's the maturity of an industry, of a technology, of a market. And again, just like every technology product, there are early adopters, there are followers. The early adopters are leading the way, but one thing we know for sure, just like solar, Dubai is not in the business of rushing into something without doing its homework. A lot of people were asking us, we have a lot of sun, why don't we see solar? Well, because regulation, legislation, and market forces have to come together. You can have one, but you might not have the other one. When they do, and the first IPP that they were rolled out was a fantastic success in terms of distributing risks and rewards across the entire value chain. And he has had the cascading effect ever since. Same is happening with EVs. There is one of the highest density of chargers in the world. There is access, there is support, there is promotion. Do you want them to buy a car for you? That's not going to happen. But in economic terms, buying a car here or buying a car in Europe and having tax incentives is equivalent. We do not have taxes here on our income. So what do you want to detract those incentives for? They give you access to space, to social status, to other elements, and there is a host of new benefits that will be progressively added upon to motivate the transition to electric infrastructures. Plus, it's just a more efficient vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so let me ask you, each of you, for your perspective. So we're focusing on infrastructure and focusing on regulations. So where are we today? Let's give make sure we're on the same page. Where are we today, and what are the challenges you're facing the most? So maybe we'll start with you, Alex. You're installing electric vehicle stations. What's the current status, and what's your challenges?
It depends on where you look at, because we're here now in Dubai, and in Dubai, as Mr. Ivanov said, we have the best, or maybe the best, maybe second place, density of the chargers per electric vehicle. It's not because we have so many chargers, because if you go to Netherlands, they have much more chargers there, but because the number of electric vehicles is still not that big. The club of the EV owners, we heard that has 200 members. So we would like them to be 200,000 members, and then we will have a real market. So if we go away from Dubai, in terms of the infrastructure, it's just the very, very beginning. It's what we've seen 7 years ago in Dubai. This is what's starting now in the other Emirates, and this is what is starting now in the neighboring countries. So Dubai has a lot of chargers, and Dubai, from the infrastructure point of view, is ready for the electric mobility. The other Emirates are following that, and I'm sure that it's going to happen very soon. If not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow.
Why is it not moving faster? Question for anyone, really.
Sorry?
Why is it not moving any faster than it is?
There are many reasons for that. And
pick one or two.
yeah, okay. You see, it's like a question: what is the first, the egg or the chicken? So Dubai gave the infrastructure. The other Emirates might be thinking that, okay, we want to see the demand. So, and they are intensifying that. They are preparing the regulations for that, and this will come. And so this is what we see. This is what is happening.
Faris, you want to speak?
May I say, I will see it in another way. You see, you have to be Emirati to understand how Emirati works. First of all, I have to thank the Business Council, the Clean Energy Business Council, for hosting this. Second thing, I would thank NG. You are one of the first early adapters for us, who helped us. And Renault helped us from the beginning also. Second, when it comes to charging, I have to thank GreenParking. I have to the whole management. I made it to Oman because of you. I really did. Okay, it worked. Let's hit Riyadh, inshallah. You know, we have one youth guy. His name is Rashid. He's an Emirati guy. He's 23 years old, and I asked him today, just to give you an example, where it is going to. What do you remember from the Nissan Patrol advertisement when it first came in? And he replied, the one tank drive all the way to Riyadh. I remember that advertisement. So there is acknowledgement, regardless of what it is, but it's the method how you cross it to the public. That's what is the problem. Many people come from abroad with initiatives. Look at Amsterdam. We are not Amsterdam. We're Dubai. Look at Belgium, so with respect. We're not. It's different here. You have to look at the community. You have to look at the local community and the build-up. Who are they? What do they want? Then, only then, the government will listen to you, because they're looking after that. Why will it go incentivize? Now, every single one of you here probably know this, but they don't know what's the percentage. Your liter is about 2.42 dirhams per liter today at the gas station. 40% of it is incentivized for you guys. We're 10%, right? There is a way to make that less. but it's not going to make you guys happy. I've spoken, I've said, I've read, and I've analyzed. I think that's the problem. The problem is everything you want to do, you have to do a checkbook with the government. Where will I lose and give away, and what will I gain it back, and where I can sustain that? Once they crack that, forget me, forget him, they're going to dive in. That's the issue. And then standards. I have to say this. There is so many standards, I didn't know who to follow, the federal or the local. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's one thing that I can see it. So you have a federal, this is our country, this is our standard, and then the city comes in and goes, nope, we're here. Okay, I mean, who should I follow? So that's a problem.
Regional level as well? Standards?
No, it depends, case on case. So depends on that. But they're catching up.
Ivanno.
I'll just continue blaming everybody else here. It's change. Get out of your comfort zone and enter into the new technology is a lot harder than you actually think. Telling you, okay, should I buy this car or should I try the electric? The unknown is very heavy. Now, conventionally, you would have a government saying, by 2019, all vehicles will have a maximum of 130 grams of CO2 emissions per kilometer. So that's what happened in Europe. What happens? Porsche issues 4-cylinder engine. All the cars that you see on the road here, no matter how big, now are running 4-cylinder engine with twin turbos. So when a friend of mine tells me, oh, I missed the sound, I'm like, are you sure about that? Did you just listen to the last car you bought? Does it have that sound? But they will create it. Exactly, they emulate the sound. So what they're trying to do is get you more comfortable with the concept of not having the big gas guzzler. So what is the difference here? The unknown. The unknown is what creates the gap. So right now, you look at the car, the full tank of gas. Well, take this away from tonight. An electric car has a tank of gas. It's called a battery, and it's measured in kilowatt hours. So when you see a Tesla with 100 written behind, it means that it has a 100 kilowatt hours battery. That's the equivalent of, say, metaphorically, 100 liters. So that consumption over power will give you range. For example, the entry level, it's a 75 kilowatt hours battery. My poor, neglected Fisker has a 22 kilowatt hour battery. Pulls out a mere 80 kilometers per charge, but I charge mine in 2 hours. To charge the battery of a Tesla, I cannot use only normal chargers, which are 22 kilowatt of powers, but I need superchargers in the 300 kilowatt of power range. So as you can see, things are changing. So the conventional gas station pump liquid fuel inside the tank. Electric cars have batteries where you pump power from an electric outlet, and the size of the nozzle derives how fast or how slow it goes. Nowadays, I've noticed that with my silly 22 kilowatt hour battery, I can drive everywhere, every day, and probably I have always kilometers to spare from charging point to charging point.
So, yeah, Faris.
Hello, yeah. Let me give you a small calculation. Just a simple calculation. I think, if I'm not mistaken, GreenParking probably will answer that better. It's about 32 fills per kilowatt.
29.
29? So my calculation was 32 fills. So a 60,000 kilometer on an electric car is equivalent to 3,800, just above that, dirhams. What you will get for a 60,000 ride kilometer. Each kilowatt, which is 32 fills, will take you about 5 kilometers. On a traditional vehicle, it's about 5 kilometers per liter, a give and take. That takes you to 60,000 kilometer, about 28,000 dirham. Just to give you what is the gap for a 60,000 kilometer journey. That's in the saving that we're talking about. Now, when he says about kilowatts and batteries and range, we've done a study, and the government did that. The average person in the UAE drives less than 90 kilometers, technically. And the smallest batteries today, like when Renault came out with the first one, 2013, it took 130 kilometers, 140 kilometers range. That's still about 30–40% more than what's an average person needs. But it's all psychology. That's it. Thank you.
So I want to leave some time for questions. So in the audience, please think of a question or two. But let's finish up with solutions in the future. Okay, so try to, within 1 minute, imagine there's an entrepreneur in the audience, imagine there's a government policymaker or a consultant. What is the key solution that we need to accelerate new energy vehicles and future mobility? Ivanno, you're our agent of change. Go first.
An indicator on every car, actual cost per kilometer driven.
Could that be UAE focused, or is that bigger than UAE?
Well, it would allow every person to actually know the combined cost of ownership, of driving, and of managing the car. We are under the false pretense that is easier to buy a cheaper car and pay the additional costs later on over time, maintenance, fuel, whatever, whereas you do not understand that maybe that the upfront capex will reduce the operating cost over the lifetime or over the usage of the vehicle itself.
So life cycle costing made sexy, made common knowledge.
Usage cost, not even life cycle. Just how much it will cost me to drive that per kilometer.
Very good. Faris.
Well, to reply with him, I agree with him about that, because that will just shock you by looking at the numbers, how much it goes out of your wallet every day. Trust me, it's a number that you don't want to see. That's one aspect, which I agree with him. The other thing is, I think the polluters has to pay the price. Exactly how France did it. I love it. The government only has to police it and walk away. That will definitely shift not only manufacturers, but consumers. Where you put I'm not sure if France, it's 100 grams of CO2 in France.
EU.
Okay, so it's 130 grams. Whatever above that, he pays to the guy who's below that. Simple as that. The more, the more. Yeah, simple as that.
Alex.
Thank you. Yeah.
You want 1 minute? We'll
Oh,
ask,
maybe
we'll
she want to
questions.
correct me on the CO2. I'm sure about that.
Let's go hide.
No? Okay. Come on, Martin. Be easy on me.
Alex, finish us up with the solution, and then we'll go into questions.
Well, one of the solutions which I believe, because we are currently doing that, is the awareness and the education. People don't know that electric mobility exists. They don't know that it is real. They don't know that the electric cars are comfortable, that you can really drive on them. We are here sitting, we all know, most of us, we either drive in every day or at least try it once in your life. You go to the street, people don't know that there are chargers in Dubai. They don't know that the electric cars is something really fast and in the end of the day affordable. Because when you really recalculate your cost of ownership, you don't need to spend time on the money and exchange the oil, change the brake pads and everything. They don't need them. So education and awareness is one of the key factors to push the market forward.
It's so important that in fact, is our next session led by Stefan. So we only have half an hour, unfortunately, to talk about this. So I think we have 5 minutes of questions. Yeah. Please state your name and then the question.
Okay, I'm Martine from NG. Thank you to all of you, but not one of you spoke about health. You know, my friends at NG know that I'm coughing a lot at the office. My husband can tell me that as soon as I'm in the car on Sheikh Zayed, I don't stop coughing. So I put a veil, I take a Kleenex. Brigitte, my friend from NG, sent me Monday a message. USAQI, you know, measured the level of pollution on Sheikh Zayed was 430. So you say hazardous, it's nearly life-threatening. And to come back to the theme of your panel, regulation, I mean, isn't it time that one considers the health impact, what it costs to the economy, what impact it has on our lives, on the kids? I know some people who have to bring on a regular basis their kids to emergency because they suffocate half. So it's a real issue. It's also a question to the club. I really think this is an issue where there is some messages to get out, including to regulators. Thank you.
I totally agree with you, by the way. We have so many Emiratis who have chest-related rabu, we call it asthma and stuff like that. And they say, oh, blame the dust. It is not the dust. Blame the construction companies, the regulation with the construction companies, the tractors that comes out and in, that picks up the dust as they go. The canon in the Environment Act, I don't know where the local lady who was sitting here, she's part of them. She should go and lobby for that.
Ivanno, you want to add something on this?
I'll just make a quick comment. You're absolutely right. And again, I'm not an environmentalist, I'm an economist, so I cannot comment on the environmental impact. But one of the classic metaphors that made me understand the concept that you just identified is, why can we buy a piece of electronics in China for $5 and buy it back in, say, Italy for 50, is exactly the difference in regulation that we do not pay for. So what is the major difference? The resource has the same cost. What we don't pay for is policy on labor, policy on the environment, policy on the emissions. As a result, the pollution levels in areas of China, the infrastructure in China has to compensate for that. So what we're doing when we're buying a $5 electronic from China as opposed to the $50 equivalent back home is simply transferring that cost of ownership, that cost of regulation, that cost of policies to someone else, which is very convenient for our pockets, but it will catch up to us at some point.
I'll also mention the Ministry of Environment is actually looking into this issue. It's something they brought up. Now, why they're not moving quickly enough, I'm not really sure. I also mentioned there's a nice app called Plume where you could check the quality, which is really not good right now. Do we have time for one more question? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Safi Rujdi, ahlanwasahlan.org. We do community environmental awareness. My question is about the servicing landscape for electric vehicles. So if someone buys an electric vehicle right now, do they have to rely on the agency? Are there service after-sales service operators? How does that work? And also, as I understand right now, the charging stations, they're running on, it's petrol-powered. When is that going to change? It could go to energy as well. I understand that you have a project in the pipeline for renewable energy powered plants. So is that going to happen anytime soon, or is it happening?
I would like to answer you very quickly. I mean, for Electric Vehicle Owner Association, we have a plan to do a multi-showroom hub kind of thing, where we can go to Arrostamani, to BMW, and everybody, and say, take the floor, bring your sales guy, bring your product, and make someone like you who doesn't know where to go, now he knows where to go for electric. That's one of the things that we're doing. And for charging and information on that, we are thinking about sessions ahead and after of looking over the car, the awareness program that goes into one. Right now, we're scouting only for a location to see where it fits in. Either a government can even adapt that, maybe. We hope to do that, because that we would like to offer the floors basically free of charge for the dealers, especially people like Arrostamani, who built this for multi-million-dollar structure and then end up taking one of the big gears out. So that's it.
If I may answer on that second part of the question regarding the source of the energy and why it's still coming from the fossil fuels, basically, not only from the petrol. First of all, local government is working on increasing the renewable energy source, right? So we have recently heard, all of us, I think, that DEVA announced a next tender to increase the solar park, and we all hope that in the near future, 2030, 2035, the percentage of the renewable energy in the local grid will be much higher than today. But even when you recharge electric vehicle from the fossil fuel, and then you drive on that electric vehicle, per kilometer, a total pollution into the air is much less compared to the normal internal combustion engine. Well, 20%, it is a lot. This is number one. And number two, you move away from the city, the pollution source. So you put it away, and it's not in the center of the city. What we have heard that people are really suffering here in the city when a lot of cars are driving next to us on Sheikh Zayed Road, burning the fuel over here. Let it be outside from the city, let them implement more measures for safety generation of the electricity, and in the end of the day, it is really less polluting compared to the internal combustion engines.
Very shortly, that I mean, they have a 70% you have to be by 2050? DEWA was? 2050 is 70% away from fossil fuel. And I want to end it there because I know there is another panelist. And that's the track.
We still have time for one more question. Quick question, yes.
Yes, I had a question actually about the dynamics of the market in Dubai. Because if you buy a car in Dubai, there's a lot of expats here. And if I look at how I reasoned when I bought my car, it's like, okay, you stay an average of 3 to 5 years. There's a very dynamic second-hand market. If I look at the price of an electric vehicle and I'm going to stay 3 years, let's say 5 years, why would I invest so much in an electric vehicle? Because the resale value is also something that you always consider when you buy a car as an expat. And so I wonder how the panel thinks about an electric vehicle market in a bit of an atypical, let's say, a market such as Dubai, very driven by expat reasoning when you do that kind of...
Okay. Very simple and very short, very straightforward. Look at McLaren. McLaren made a deal. You buy a car for 1 million dirham, we'll buy it back for 1 million dirham in a year, which is a loss-loss situation for them. They've learned that lesson. The market crashed for them. But once the vehicle, because it's their brand on it, reached the third-party sellers for 200,000 dirham. McLaren, which is a $1 million dirham car, 200,000 dirham. They've decided, you know what? We'll take the money, we'll buy it back from all the market in the UAE. They've scouted for 1 week, took all the cars out of the market, put them in the storage, resold it at 500,000. So they've done something as a manufacturer. Same thing happens with the electric car. Manufacturer has to come in and say, we're going to buy it back, the first batch. We're going to make sure, because the insurance companies, they don't want to have it sitting there. That's the reason.
Ivanno, you want to add something quickly?
Just very quickly, in September, the Sustainabilist is only devoted to electric vehicles. So in the September issue, you will see what vehicles are coming to the market. And the surprise is not the high-end product that you're referring to. Now we have only a very small pool of electric vehicles and our high-end product. So they cater to a very niche market. But already from the end of this year, there will be a larger pool of vehicles focusing the mid-segment, and these will have a better resale value. It will have a lot more value to be shared across different owners. Thank you.
I want to thank the panelists. If you could give them a big round of applause.